Good afternoon. Welcome to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. I'm Craig Mish, getting ready for the NBA Finals and Stanley Cup Finals as well. But major news in the National Football League, which we got to get to here on today's show. Didn't expect the month of June to begin with some major trades. We'll break it all down for you. Dexter Henry will be with us. We'll preview tomorrow night's game between the Knicks and Spurs. Great to have Dennis Bernstein on the show. The Stanley Cup Finals getting ready to get underway. We'll give you all the latest in hockey. Kyle Bond also on the program because the World Cup folks is right around the corner. Can't wait for that. And then Dustin Gawker, of course, will join us talking some prediction markets as well. But let's get right to it, folks. We turn the clock from May to June, and that means OTAs for the NFL. It means getting ready for training camp, which begins next month. But we could not have expected the trades that happened yesterday, which definitely shocked the world. We'll start off with the one that has Defensive Player of the Year Myles Garrett leaving Cleveland after signing a long-term extension and going to the Los Angeles Rams. In return, the Browns get a very good player in Jared Verse, a 2027 first-round pick, a 2028 second-round pick, and then a third-round pick in 29, which we know probably is nothing. But still, Verse, a good player, a first-round pick next year. Why? It would appear the Rams are going for it, and the odds makers have certainly agreed. They are now plus 550 to win the Super Bowl. So imagine that. The Rams, who drafted a quarterback in the offseason, it looked like they were all disjointed, definitely on the same path as far as adding the best player, arguably, on defense in the NFL. I know some others like Max Crosby would have something to say about it, but I genuinely think this is an over-the-top type trade. Now, another trade that was being rumored to happen finally did come to pass yesterday, as A.J. Brown is now an official member of the New England Patriots. Grew up a fan of the Patriots as well, and certainly getting a first-round pick in 2028 is the way to go if you are the Philadelphia Eagles, because we knew that Brown's relationship with that team was soured. Now, who will catch passes from Jalen Hurts this season? That still remains to be seen. Devonta Smith certainly is back, but, you know, draft picks and such. A.J. Brown's stats with Mike Vrabel, very impressive while he was with Tennessee. 46 games, 185 receptions, 16.2 yards per carry, and 24 touchdowns and 3,000 yards. And now the Pats have their number one wide receiver. Okay, did he get all that? Maybe there'll be a trade today too. Last night in the National League West, things got wild, and no surprise here. The Diamondbacks are in it to win it. They're a good team. They win as home dogs. They trailed 1-0 heading into the 6th. They scored 1, and then 1 in the 7th, 2 in the 8th to win 4-1. Marte, Arenado, and Troy all hit home runs. And the Diamondbacks officially sending a message to the Dodgers that we are in this to stay in the West. Here's Torey Lovello on that.
Instead of telling him win the first game of the series, we got him for 4 days, and I couldn't be more proud of this group. You know, we were grinding through some early innings, maybe a little bit of a hangover from the trip up to Seattle. Sheehan had some really good stuff, but we kept hanging in there. We kept fighting. Clearly, the Tommy Troy home run got us energized and even the score, and then Arenado, who continues to just impress me with so many of the things that he's doing to help his team win, and he does it with a lot of hard work behind the scenes. So.
And they'll play game 2 tonight. Meanwhile, the Tigers needed really badly to win last night. They finally did, coming back to hold off the Rays 10-9. The Rays scored 4 in the 8th inning. They were led by Dylan Dingler, who had his first multi-home run game yesterday. He hit 2, drove in 4, and also had 4 hits. Rays struggling just here a little bit, and let's hear from Dingler on his massive game.
I know it's one game, but Tarek Skubal said fittingly today that this team has been counted out before, that they have experience from that, and that he feels that they're being counted out right now. How much can you draw from the experience of being counted out previously to dig out of this hole that you guys have dug up until this point?
Yeah, no doubt. Obviously, there's a lot of negative things that are being said about this team, and we haven't been playing good ball, but things can get turned around very quick, and tonight can be the start of that.
Dylan, congratulations on the win. Appreciate the time. 4 hits there for Dylan Dingler. We will have all of this crazy wild game coming up for you in Tigers postgame presented by Cure Auto Insurance. That is next.
All right, so maybe highlights coming too. We'll see. All right, I feel like I'm hosting the Tigers postgame show now. I'm right there though, Chris, with Miami. Okay, so now we'll get back into Newswire mode. The Twins snapped their 5-game skid with a 9-6 win. Of course, the White Sox have been hot, but Tristan Gray put an end to that yesterday. Hit a grand slam, drove in 5 runs. By the way, on the flip side for White Sox, even though they lost, man, this Miguel Vargas is having some season. 2 more home runs, 4 runs driven in. It has been a very tough road trip for the Twins, who just keep on losing, but Tristan Gray happy to get yesterday's win.
Hey, Tristan, that was a big win after a long 10-game road trip, and the fact you're about to face 3 straight division opponents. How important was it to start things off with a win like that?
I think it's everything. Coming off a tough road series, we just came together. Shelty brought us in and just said, "Hey guys, we're playing hard. Like, don't sweat it. Just keep putting in the effort and see what happens."
Meanwhile, the Brewers keep scoring and the Giants keep losing 16-2 yesterday. Are you kidding me? The Brewers put up a 16 spot thanks to Jackson Chourio, who had 3 runs driven in. Yelich also had 2 as well. Bryce Terang, by the way, was 0 for 21 before knocking in a couple yesterday, and he talked about the Brewers' explosion against the Giants.
It's like this feel as a group when everyone is contributing, right? It's like constant traffic, everyone's on base, obviously a ton of runs and walks tonight.
Yeah, it feels good. Feels good for everyone. Having quality at bats kind of starts the roll. So making them throw strikes and when they do, we crush them. So these guys have been doing a really good job at that, and we just got to keep going out there and keep doing it.
Jacob deGrom one day could get enshrined in Cooperstown, but if he does, he'll have probably the least amount of wins in the history of that place as far as a starting pitcher is concerned, because he's a Hall of Fame pitcher. But folks, he won his 100th career game. He's been playing so long and only has 100 career wins. Rangers beat the Cardinals 2-1 in the game, and getting a career number 100 certainly ain't what it used to be, but deGrom certainly should be applauded for that.
Jacob, your 100th career win. We heard about what that celebration was like inside the clubhouse. So what does it mean to you to see your teammates just as excited for that moment as you were?
Yeah, it's really cool. I've said it since spring training. We had a great group here, and everybody's pulling for everybody and rooting for each other just as much as they're rooting for themselves. So it's a good group, and for the guys to be as excited as they were, it was awesome.
Meanwhile, the Mets, the former team that deGrom used to play for, they lost again. They lost to the Mariners 2-1. Josh Naylor was 1 for 3 with an RBI because he hit a home run. Colt Emerson also hit a home run as well in that game. How about the Rockies? They beat the Angels 9-8 as road dogs, scoring 5 runs in the 8th. Hunter Goodman now has 14 home runs on the season. Good catcher. Jake McCarthy also 2 for 4 with a home run. Jose Siri hit a grand slam. It was not enough. The Marlins losing streak is over. They beat the Nationals 7-3. Sandy Alcantara with 7 innings pitched, and also Heriberto Hernandez with a pinch hit home run. The Royals rout the Reds 9-2 in their season opener, and Lane Thomas hit a grand slam. Michael Massey, Jack Caglione also with home runs. And for the Cincinnati Reds, unfortunately, they have lost Ellie De La Cruz to a hamstring strain. It looks like a grade 1 or grade 2. So that means not just a couple of days, but at least a couple of weeks. All right, now let's get over to the Stanley Cup Finals. It's always one of the best events on the sports calendar. And this year it is the Vegas Golden Knights taking on the Carolina Hurricanes. Game 1 tonight is at 8:20 Eastern. And right now, Carolina is minus 154 with a total of 5.5. To win the actual series, though, it's close. Carolina's minus 154. The Golden Knights are plus 124. I have a feeling this one's going to go back and forth throughout the series. But to get the prediction that we need, we'll check in with Dennis Bernstein, who will join us a little bit later of the show. Speaking of predictions, Dexter Henry is going to make some time for us with the NBA Finals on deck. That's really nice of him. He'll join us next. I'll ask him all the hot questions. We'll go through some props. We'll take a look at the odds here on NewsWire on SportsGrid. So stick with us here on the grid as we're off and running here on this Tuesday. We'll be back with Dexter right after this. So Dexter Henry certainly did not expect the Knicks to be playing for the championship, let alone almost being even money to win the NBA championship. And then he didn't expect to have to come on with me because he's going to have a busy week ahead of him covering this. Now, Dexter, I'm going to ask the question as somebody who has covered sports for a million years. Sadly enough, I'm older. And it's the sad question that I'm going to ask. And I know you're going to give me the answer here, but I'm going to guess you're not going on the road to cover this team in San Antonio, right? Like the home games, I'm hoping you're going to tell me that you got a pass here to go to the home games, but I'm guessing the road, no.
I will be at the home games. I will not be at the road game in San Antonio. I do have duties. I'll be hosting the show, but yeah, not at the road games. Yeah.
Okay, good. At least you get the home games because it's a rare occasion to see the team that you cover, regardless if you're a fan or not, impartial or not, to be at a championship. I've been to a lot of them, so I'm at least glad to hear that. Okay, so now let's go to game one and take a quick look at the odds and also look at the series, which to me tells the story here that odds makers are being a little careful here on San Antonio, knowing that the Knicks, all they got to do is really steal game one or game two in San Antonio, and it becomes a completely different series. That's why you're seeing the Spurs minus 190, even though they have the home court advantage through 7 games. So I think it's going to be a long series. I think it's going to be a fun series. And honestly, I could see either team winning. So I'd love you, Dexter, to expand on that.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you necessarily with this. I could see either team winning here. I think the Knicks and the Knicks fans will feel this way. I think they're being a little bit disrespected. I mean, with how they've played, the 11 straight wins, the point differential in those 11 games, which is the best in NBA history. We haven't seen anybody play like this. They've had a dominant run. Now, some people will question their run through the Eastern Conference and try to diminish it. I will not do that because I remember some people at the beginning of this playoff run saying that the Knicks had a hard road when they had to play Atlanta and then possibly could have played Boston and Detroit. Well, they didn't play Boston and Detroit, and the teams that defeated Boston and Detroit, the Knicks swept both of those teams. So I think their run has been very impressive. They haven't played with their food. I think the Knicks are playing really good basketball. I think the Knicks could win this series.
Me too.
I think I do. I think they have a lot of answers for what the Spurs can bring, and particularly their wings on their guards. I think they can slow them down. I think they have some matchups that they should win. There won't be necessarily the direct matchups of them going against each other, but I think they have advantage at power forward with OG Anunoby compared to Julian Champagnie. I think they also can have a matchup at the 3 spot with Mikal Bridges. Those are guys I think that can have a big series here. The X factor for me with the Knicks is going to be Josh Hart, and then also how they're able to slow down and attack the guards of the Spurs. This is going to be a fantastic series. I do think it will be long. I agree with you. I'd be shocked if it's less than 6 games. I would be very shocked if it's less than 6 games. But the Knicks have a good shot. And you made another good point, Craig. All it would take is one game. It's particularly if it's game one. I'd be very intrigued to see how those odds then switch for the Spurs and where they are as minus 190 favorites here, and the Knicks is plus 160-ish underdogs. That if the Knicks win game one and now it's 12 games in a row that they've won, I think you could see a flip in those odds. Not a flip, but a shift, I will say, in those odds. But yeah, I think either team can win this. And I think it's going to be a good NBA Finals. I really do.
I do too. My bold prediction so I'm going to pick the Spurs to win it, but my bold prediction was, Dexter, that I think somebody outside of Wemby wins the MVP of the NBA Finals. That was my bold one because you can get crazy odds on that. Yeah, my other bold one is I think the Knicks win in San Antonio. I think San Antonio wins in New York. I think that's how crazy back and forth this is going to be. By the way, you see there the odds. You could just get massive odds on anybody outside of Wemby. And then I guess the reason why I brought this up, Dexter, and I hate to do it 2 days in a row, but I don't know that everybody's watching our show 2 days in a row, was that you go back in the history of the game and, you see Kareem and you certainly see Shaq. And I know that they're different players of Wemby, and you see Nikola Jokic, and I understand big men have won the MVP, but I mean, in the history of the game, and you look at the last 50 years, how many big men have won it? Now, you're going to say to me, Dexter, well, Craig, I mean, how many guys are like Wemby that are that big and do what he does? I get that, but that was my thought, is that maybe somebody who pops in with a 30 or a 40-point game as a guard or a forward, and that starts the conversation. I'll probably be wrong there, but that's the big shot that I'm going to take.
Or you have a couple of games, not even just one, right, Craig? Sometimes you could take a couple of games from a guy, not necessarily a X factor unheralded guy, but it could be someone where, it could be like a Devin Vassell. right? On the side of the Spurs. It could be a OG Anunoby, Mikal Bridges, who I just mentioned, that I think can have a really good series in this one on the side of the Knicks. I don't think that's crazy. And if you're looking for some good value, why not? I say, why not look at that, right? Because Wemby, here's the thing with Wemby. And we saw this in game 7 against the Spurs. Wemby can have a lot of attention on him. And still, the Spurs have had enough guys to be able to step up, whether it's Stephon Castle, whether it's Dylan Harper, whether it's De'Aaron Fox. We saw Keldon Johnson hit big shots, Julian Champagnie. So we've seen other guys step up. And that was a game 7 where Wemby only took one shot in the fourth quarter. So, yeah, it wouldn't shock me. And in these finals, we've seen it before where the stars haven't necessarily been named MVP. So you could have some secondary, tertiary players. Yeah, take a shot. Why not?
Yeah, and guys, pull up Wemby's playoff stats. This is the point that I want to make. Look at Brunson. If the Knicks win's going to win the MVP, okay, I'm not even going to consider anyone else. This guy's like the most clutch player in the NBA going right now. He's probably going to hit a big shot to win a game. Look at Wemby's playoff stats. If those, Dexter, and they win, let's assume the Spurs win. If those are a little bit below that, does that look like a finals MVP to you? Averaging 20 points a game, 8 rebounds, and 2 assists? I don't think so. So that's the only reason why. And it doesn't take anything away from him, but it just doesn't seem like, unless he just packs the stat sheet, right, I am going to take a shot with somebody else. That's the point of look. I mean, those stats don't look like an MVP.
Yeah, the other thing I'll say too, Craig, right, is, and I've been kind of bringing this up talking about the Spurs, right? It is the youth and the inexperience. Wemby hasn't been at this stage before. Wemby has not played this much basketball before. This is the deepest he's ever played basketball in his professional career. And things could get a little bit more physical in this series. I'm going to throw one other name that I think could be a shot at MVP on the Knicks side. Karl Anthony Towns. I think this is a good matchup for Cat. I think they're going to throw some smaller folks on him. He has been attacking well. He's making some good decisions with the passing. I could see Cat having a big series here. It would not shock me at all. And you see the odds there for him at plus 2,200. So don't think that could be bad for him at all.
All right, Dexter. I know we'll catch up again soon as the finals rolls on. Enjoy game 1 tomorrow. Thanks again.
Will do. Thanks, guys.
Talk NHL with Dennis Bernstein next. Amongst the Stanley Cup hockey finals, which begin tonight, we've got a lot of news going on in the National Football League. You know, training camp for the National Football League, by the way, folks, opens up in a little bit over a month, and the Hall of Fame game is now, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, 2 months away. So here we go, football season coming fast and furious, and arguably one of the biggest offseason trades in years happened yesterday. In case you missed it, unfortunately happened right after our show, so we didn't have a chance to bring it to you. But Myles Garrett, who you may remember last offseason, I believe it was last offseason, requested a trade and then rescinded it. And so the Browns gave him a long-term extension, essentially trying to keep him happy. I'm going to guess that he still wanted out here because I don't think that this would have happened without his blessing. So Myles Garrett ends up going to the Rams now. He's going to play defensive end for them. The Browns did really well in this trade. They get Jared Verse back in return and a 2027 first-round pick, also a 2028 second-round pick, and a 2029 third. So more on this emerging National Football League offseason, which I thought was over a couple of months ago, but certainly continues into tonight. All right, joining us next to break down tonight's Stanley Cup showdown in Carolina, it's the Hurricanes and Golden Knights, is Denny Bernstein of the Fourth Period and Sirius XM NHL Radio. Denny, I know that it's a busy day for you with Game 1 tonight, but I appreciate you taking the time to talk about the game tonight. Thanks for coming on.
Hey, Craig. Hello from Raleigh, North Carolina. We're in the...
All right, we'll try to get Denny's audio here going in just a minute here. I don't think I'm... Okay, my bad. I wasn't hearing him, but Denny is on. Denny, it's good to catch up with you. I wasn't hearing your audio there, but your mouth is moving just great, I will say.
Okay, that's great. It's great to be with you. And we're here in the basement of the Lenovo Center, ready for tonight's game between the Hurricanes and the Vegas Golden Knights. And it should be, I think, a very interesting, if not a star-studded Cup final.
Okay, so let's start with Carolina here, and this is the team that maybe going into the season, some people thought, yeah, maybe they could be a Cup contender, but I don't think a lot of folks thought that they'd be the champion at the end of the year. Let's start off with them. What worked for them all season long? And then, you know, clearly when they got into the postseason, they were just dominant.
Yeah, it's their style, Greg. They don't have superstar players like Vegas does. And I think when you look at this game and you look at the series, it's stars versus structure. They have great structure. They have a great coach. They have great concepts, right? And it's worked for them. I think at this point, Craig, what we're looking at is a team had 113 points in the regular season, which is a lot. They have 12-1 in the playoffs, and we're still looking to poke holes in this team. Like, what's wrong with this team? Why they win? They can't win game ones of conference finals. But this is a very organized, very well-coached team that is favored coming in. So I don't think there's anything more they have to do than just to execute their game plan against the Vegas Golden Knights, and they could be lifting the trophy in a couple of weeks.
All right, so maybe they will. Let's touch on the Vegas side. And Denny, you talk about the history of sports franchises, and you've been around long enough to know that usually when an expansion team is formed, it can take a really long time before they have success. Vegas had success almost immediately and really never looked back. And here they are back again in the finals. And so from a franchise perspective, Denny, I wonder your thoughts on this. It's just an anomaly to have a team formed in less than a decade and to be this good.
Yeah, it's funny. You have Carolina, who's been built on drafting, developing, and not taking big swings, where I guess you could give a comparable with respect to the Vegas Golden Knights. They're like the LA Rams of the NHL. They're all in all the time. They've been all in since day one, Craig, and they've got the 3 Stanley Cup finals in 9 years, as you mentioned. They don't care about public perception. They don't care about media. They don't care about anything. All they care about is winning, and that's why they went and got Carter Hart when he had those off-ice issues, and that's why they've traded for guys like Mark Stone and Jack Eichel when they were out of favor in their team. So this is a team that is solely focused on winning. They fired a great coach with a couple of weeks left in the season in Bruce Cassidy. John Tortorella has been fantastic. Everybody knows the record with him behind the bench. They just want to win. They're underdogs, but this is a very, very dangerous underdog. They're a live dog, and there's not much separating these two teams, to be honest, Craig.
All right, so Denny, I know that you like the Hurricanes to win the Stanley Cup Finals. Yeah. What other plays do you think that folks should get in on before it begins tonight?
I think early on you want to play the under, so I'm going to play under 5.5 goals. And the player I really like on Carolina is Jackson Blake. He's the son of Jason Blake, who used to play in the league a couple of decades ago. I like him for an anytime point. So I'm not sure Canes will win the game tonight, but I do like the under tonight because I think it'll be a while before the offenses get going in the Stanley Cup final.
All right, Denny, as always, great stuff. Appreciate it. We'll have you back on at your convenience when you have the time for us throughout the finals. Thanks again.
Well, it's great being on the Great Craig. Thanks for the time. I appreciate it.
All right, Denny Bernstein will be on, hopefully with us throughout the Stanley Cup Finals. Coming up next, it's time to get our first preview of the upcoming World Cup. Kyle Bond rejoins our show to talk some soccer and gives us some sneaky picks when we return next here on NewsWire. Don't go away. We're real excited to have Kyle Bond back on the show because it's that time of the year. I mean, the World Cup begins next week. We could have started next week with Kyle, but we wanted to get an early look at who people are betting. And by the way, I think this is going to be a very exciting tournament. Kyle, thanks for coming on the show. And I know that you're getting ready for it as well. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you, Craig. This is the most exciting time of the soccer calendar, so very much looking forward to it. This is a sport that never ends. We've got year-round soccer all the time, but the World Cup sure is special.
Yeah, and I think, Kyle, look, the reason why it's more special, let's begin with this year, is the most low-lying fruit, obvious reason. It's in the United States. Like, it's never avoidable. I mean, I live in South Florida where everybody, of course, Latin America, they follow the World Cup here. But the fact that it's in the U.S. this year, Kyle, to me, that's what puts it over the top. And by the way, it may be decades before we see it back here again.
Yeah, I was talking to a friend of mine who is not a soccer fan earlier this morning, and he was texting me, how's the U.S. going to do? And I mentioned that they're hoping to reach the quarterfinals of a World Cup for the first time since 2002. And this is someone who is not a soccer fan, and he goes, yeah, I remember that 2002 team. I remember everybody going crazy. And that was in Asia. If that's the kind of effect that a deep run for the U.S. team can have across the world, imagine the kind of effect that a good tournament can have on the sport in this country on home soil.
All right. So, Kyle, let's get started because this is our first conversation of the World Cup season, essentially. Let's go into, who's in it, who the favorites are. If you think that the odds are correct, we'll get into some of the surprises. But let's just start off with the favorite to win the World Cup this season. And do you think that the odds are properly priced, having Spain, essentially, France, and England all within those three it would appear odds makers are telling us one of those three wins it this year.
Yeah, I think that's correct for the most part. I think if any of those three teams don't reach the semifinals, it's a massive disappointment for them at the World Cup. I think all three of those teams also would expect to reach the final and probably lift the trophy too. So they're all strong contenders. I have questions about each one, though. Spain have had injury issues. They're the best team in the world, I think, but there are some questions. The biggest one being to Lamine Yamal, who's, in my opinion, the best player in the world right now, at the very least, top three. Just 19 years old, unbelievable player. He's going to win multiple Ballon d'Ors in his career, but he tore his hamstring towards the end of the season with Barcelona, missed the rest of the season, and now there's reports that he could miss the first few games of the World Cup. They don't need him to progress through the group stage. I'm not worried about them there. I'm worried about the lingering effects of that hamstring injury through the rest of the tournament. Even if he comes back, will he be at full strength? Will he be able to run as fast as he normally can, dribble, that kind of thing? So I have a bit of injury questions there with Spain. There's also some other players who are either missing or struggling with injury. England, very well-coached team, but there's been some questionable roster decisions from Thomas Tuchel, and fatigue could be a factor for them. Arsenal reached the end of the Champions League tournament. It was a long Premier League season. They've got a number of players who had very long club seasons that you wonder if maybe that could play a factor in the World Cup. France, really good attacking team, but their coach Didier Deschamps is notorious for reining that in and playing defensive first. It worked in 2018. It almost worked in 2022. They're a very good team, but will they let that strong attacking talent run free? To me, the biggest miss from the top of the odds is Argentina. The defending champions are plus 900 to win this tournament. That's insane for me. They have the one quality that is most coveted at a World Cup, and that is that they are the hardest team to beat. They are so tough to beat. Their coach, Lionel Scaloni, for me, is the best national team coach in the world. Obviously, they have Lionel Messi, but what Scaloni has done is he has propped this team up to be one of the best in the world with or without Messi. And they are a formidable team. Plus 900 is crazy to me, especially when you look at Brazil at plus 850, which is also crazy for me. Stay away from Brazil. Yes, they're the most successful team in World Cup history. They have not won since 2002, and they just don't have that top-to-bottom star-level talent that they usually do. Neymar is washed. He's just not it anymore, and also maybe injured for the tournament. They've got a ton of players missing due to injury and a squad that already is thin. I just don't see it for them.
Let's get to Team USA here. And Kyle, you believe that this new format that's in place basically gives Team USA a better chance. And so I guess my question to you would be, was this strategically done because it's in the United States this season and the ratings? I mean, there's conspiracy theorists who would believe that, or is it just simply put, they got lucky? They're in a format that makes it easier for them.
I would say it does and it doesn't make it easier for them. I would say in the beginning it does. The reason for the new format is money. That's it. Top to bottom money. There's more games. They've gone from 64 games to 104 games, I believe, over the course of the World Cup. So you've just almost doubled the amount of sheer volume of matches in the tournament by expanding from 32 to 48. That's the only reason they expanded. For the U.S., it means that there's a higher floor. There's always the risk that the U.S. in the 32-team format could get eliminated in the group stage. That is almost impossible in this new format for them to be eliminated in the group stage. Only all fourth-place finishers in the groups are eliminated, and then 4 of the 12 third-place finishers are eliminated. That's it. So they can finish third in their group and still have a 2/3 chance of qualifying for the knockout round. Now, where the group stage really matters, when you put aside the fact that they're probably not going to get eliminated in the group stage, right, where it really matters is setting themselves up for a success in the knockout stage. Here's the variance that they could enjoy. If they win their group, which is going to be tough because Turkey's a good team. If they win their group, they would set themselves up to face a third-place finisher in the round of 32. Remember, this year with the 48-team tournament, there's a round of 32, which there's never been before. And then in the round of 16, they would face the winner of Belgium's group. So Belgium, probably one of the most beatable Tier 1 teams in this tournament. If they finish third or even second in their group, there's the chance that they could play Argentina in the first round of the knockout stage. So that's what you're looking at where the group stage matters. Are they likely to be eliminated in the group stage? Almost impossible. But it could make or break their tournament, knowing that, to me, now different people will say different things. The round of 16, reaching the round of 16 is the bare minimum for this team. Reaching the quarterfinals, something they've never done since 2002, would be an unmitigated success, and reaching the semifinals would be a dream.
Okay.
So to get there, they have to have a good group stage.
Okay, so here's what I don't understand. This is why we have Kyle on. Guys, put up the graphic to odds to qualify from Group D. Why are all of these minus money, Kyle? What am I missing here? I mean, shouldn't somebody be plus, or literally can all four get in?
No, all four cannot get in, but 3 of the 4 are likely. So that's why you're looking at those kind of odds. And in this group, there's no real bottom feeder. Like there's no team that everyone can beat up on and is very unlikely to reach the knockout stage. That's what you're looking at right there, is that 3 of those 4 teams have a good chance of moving on.
Okay. Finally, let's talk about the rule changes here, Kyle, before we let you go, and then we'll bring you back on and talk more World Cup later in the week.
Yeah, so there's going to be a number of tweaks. You don't see this very often, where IFAB, the rule-making organization, uses the World Cup as kind of a test run almost for some of these rule changes. But there's going to be, the ones you'll see the most, there is a time limit for substitutions of 10 seconds, which could matter because if the player coming off does not get off the field in 10 seconds, that delays the substitute coming on by a minute. So your team now has to play down a man for a minute. And that could be a big thing. Throw-ins, there's a 5-second time limit, or else the throw-in goes to the other team. That's new. VAR can review fouls before a corner is taken, which is new. So there's a number of new things here that they're trialing that you may see during the games.
And we'll have a lot of coverage here, of course, on SportsGrid throughout the World Cup. Kyle will be with me on this show as well. Kyle, thanks for coming on NewsWire. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, Craig. Enjoy it.
Thank you, Kyle.
Talk has been about sports betting handle being down or flat, right, because of the threat of prediction markets and the growth of them. But we've seen Kalshi actually kind of plateau for the first time in recent memory. Looking at a graphic right now, we've had the spike for the Super Bowl, and then this is usually when things die down. Yes, there's March Madness, but usually sports betting handle kind of goes down over the course of the spring and summer until we get back to football season.
NewsWire, only on SportsGrid.
For Abdul Carter. Hey, son, you want to be a leader? Show up to meetings on time. Don't be late to practice. This guy's sitting there trying to tell me that he's got a problem with Jackson Dart going to a Trump rally when he can't even show up to a meeting on time, and he can't show up to practice and he's late? Dude.
Outspoken with Dan Cilio, only on SportsGrid.
This is all about headlines, Donnie. Yep. If that noise gets louder as we get closer, then 45 cents is going to be 65 cents, and that's the repricing we're talking about. I don't need Utah to get them. I need people to think Utah is going to go up and get them, Donnie, and that's how you make money.
Prediction Markets Edge, only on SportsGrid.
Now we have to endure months of manufactured rumors about will he or won't he retire LeBron James. They are probably, Donnie, working on the Decision 2.0 for Amazon Prime as we speak. Is Jim Gray still around? But here is the beauty of the predictive markets. They make insufferable stories about insufferable people highly profitable.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. Always fun to catch up with Dustin Gawker with his Substack and certainly his podcast that cover prediction markets, where the stories tell themselves, as they say, each and every week. But I would encourage you to subscribe to Dustin's Substack so you could read about them as well. Great to have Dustin on, and we've got 3 stories to talk about, so let's dive right in. The latest impropriety comes on the heels of a prediction market story that you wrote about that has to do with Google. Things that are searched online can be predicted over on Polymarket. So naturally, an insider got involved in this, Dustin, and tried to profit off of it.
Right now, it's pretty much every week there's an insider trading case, right? Well, and some would argue this is good. We're catching people, but some are like, why is there so much insider trading going on in prediction markets? This case, so at Kalshi and Polymarket and other prediction markets, you could trade/bet on things about the year in search at Google, like who is the most searched celebrity, what is the most searched word, et cetera, et cetera. You can trade on this. And this particular instance happened at Polymarket. But so a Google employee actually allegedly, we'll put allegedly in there, did this at Polymarket. Used internal tools to learn what was going to be announced as the most searched things at Google, and then won more than $1 million trading at Polymarket on this. The reason we know this because the U.S. attorney in New York brought a complaint against this employee who lives in Switzerland, and now we have a big mess. Again, what I question is, why are we betting on this? This is not you're not predicting it, right? The answer exists, and there's like a lot of things, there's this information exists in the world. It's like Survivor that we talked about recently as well. The information exists and somebody has it, and it's only valuable because there's a way to trade on it at a prediction market. So it's a wild story, and people on both sides will point to this as, oh, bad things are happening in prediction markets. Prediction markets say, look, hey, we're stopping this. We're catching these people, and they're going to go to jail or pay fines or what have you if they get caught. So the truth, like a lot of things, is somewhere in the middle. But this, we don't need to treat on Google search stuff. This isn't something valuable in the world like the Fed interest rate or elections. This is for speculation, and in this instance, somebody was again allegedly insider trading on it, almost certainly insider trading on proprietary information he had from working at Google.
Yeah, definitely so. We'll see what Dustin has for us next week. The weather, sports, politics, probably some award show of some kind. But anyway, prediction markets are going nowhere, at least for the time being. It would appear the president is backing prediction markets up with the CFTC. And if this is the case, Dustin, several years away from really anything happening, I think, substantially. Although you would say, Dustin, that state by state is a little bit different than national. States could get potentially more involved, as we've seen.
Yeah. President Trump posts a lot of things on Truth Social, his social media platform, but one of the things he posted last week was about prediction markets, and he says, it is critically important that the CFTC's exclusive authority over prediction markets is maintained and that they will thrive under my leadership. We are setting rules of the road that are gold standard for the states. We cannot have scum, in all caps, like Chris Christie, Letitia James, Tim Walton, JB Pritzker, setting the rules. So this is obviously unmitigated support for prediction markets. It's interesting because just a month ago, I'm sure we talked about this, he was doing a press conference and said, unfortunately, the whole world has somewhat become a casino and not really much in favor of prediction markets. This was after some of the other insider trading cases came out, and he's having to deal with that. Obviously, someone said, "Hey, look, we're the CFTC. We really like we run the CFTC. We really like prediction markets. We want them to grow." Donald Trump Jr. is, of course, an advisor to both Polymarket and Kalshi. So but it underlines this is not going away under the Trump administration. The Trump administration is going to support this. This is just more weight on the scale that President Trump is not going to sign a bill probably that's going to rein in prediction markets. He's certainly not going to have the CFTC rein in sports event contracts or any of this. But you are right. In the grand scheme of things, this is not going to really change the dynamic between the states and the federal government. The states don't want prediction markets. They think it's sports gambling. They think it exists outside of their laws. Right. And the CFTC and federal government are saying this is under our purview. We're in charge. Trump is agreeing with that, and this is going to be tied up in the courts for another year or two at least, and it will get to the Supreme Court. So what President Trump says is interesting / material. but it doesn't mean that, that prediction markets are here for forever and ever. This is just weight on the scale.
Yeah, and certainly states, you could understand their plight here is, they're getting paid from DraftKings and FanDuel's sports betting operation, but not from their prediction market operation, and they are the same company. Crazy. Anyway, let's continue and get to the sports bar that essentially is saying that if you come and the Knicks win in New York, we're going to pay for your tab. But not so fast here, Dustin, because seems like there could be a hedge involved.
Yeah, this is fascinating. So this bar, the Jeffrey, I think it's on the Upper East Side in New York, was promoting that they'll if you $100 free beer and food if the Knicks win. But he's using and went on social media to promote this Kalshi to hedge that promotion by betting on the Knicks. So if the Knicks win, he will win some money by his hedge/bet on Kalshi. And good PR for him, good PR for Kalshi, which is trying to prove that sports event contracts have utility in the real world besides you and me, Craig, going on there and gambling on who's going to win the game one of the finals. But it's interesting. It's fascinating to me. I'm sure you are well aware of and remember Mattress Mac, who really was doing this exact same thing. Like, over the past decade, we've had Mattress Mac betting on the Houston Astros. What he really was doing was hedging his furniture promotions. We've come full circle, Craig. It's wild because I always said Mac wasn't betting on things. He would bet on the Astros to win, but he would give away a bunch of furniture if the Astros won the World Series. Right. So again, Mac was kind of winning either way. He would either sell a lot of furniture or he would win his Astros bets. So it's fascinating. This started 2017 before we even had legalized sports betting outside of Las Vegas. He was going to Vegas and placing bets to hedge these furniture promotions. So this is an example of that. It's definitely a real world case. The interesting thing is if you're actually going to hedge, if you're a restaurant or bar and not create a promotion, you'd be I think you'd be betting against your team. You'd be betting against the Spurs because you'd get less foot traffic. You'd be selling less beer. We'll see. But it's interesting nonetheless.
Dustin, great topics today. Thanks for coming on.
Here. Talk has been about sports betting handle being down or flat, right, because of the threat of prediction markets and the growth of them. But we've seen Kalshi actually kind of plateau for the first time in recent memory. Looking at a graphic right now, we've had the spike for the Super Bowl, and then this is usually when things die down. Yes, there's March Madness, but usually sports betting handle kind of goes down over the course of the spring and summer until we get back to football season.
NewsWire, only on SportsGrid.
For Abdul Carter. Hey, son, you want to be a leader? Show up to meetings on time. Don't be late to practice. This guy's sitting there trying to tell me that he's got a problem with Jackson Dart going to a Trump rally when he can't even show up to a meeting on time and he can't show up to practice and he's late? Dude.
Outspoken with Dan Cilio, only on SportsGrid.
This is all about headlines, Donnie. Yep. If that noise gets louder as we get closer, then 45 cents is going to be 65 cents, and that's the repricing we're talking about. I don't need Utah to get them. I need people to think Utah is going to go up and get them, Donnie, and that's how you make money.
Prediction Markets Edge, only on SportsGrid.
Now we have to endure months of manufactured rumors about will he or won't he retire LeBron James. They are probably, Donnie, working on the Decision 2.0 for Amazon Prime as we speak. Is Jim Gray still around? But here is the beauty of the predictive markets. They make insufferable stories about insufferable people highly profitable.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. Before we get to some last licks, check out New York City these days. The entire city is painted blue and orange. That also includes the MTA at 34th Street Penn Station at 8th Avenue and 34th Street. Check it out. Entrances, globe light fixtures, orange and blue. I'm sure the buildings will be lit up as well to celebrate the New York Knicks playoff run and finals appearance. And, you know, obviously this is a great time, I am sure, to be a sports fan. And look, the truth is, as annoying as I consider, and I'm from New York originally, but as annoying as I consider some New York sports fans to be, I would say that it's a great place to be when your team is playing in the championship. There's no question about that. They do a fantastic job. And so we'll see what the Garden looks like. And we'll certainly see if the Knicks have it in them to make it a series and even win the NBA championship, which seemingly would be possible. How about Serena Williams? Serena Williams is back on the court. We'll talk about her. Also, we will talk about a home run derby for the White Sox, and a character from Backyard Baseball is back. It's time now for some last licks. Serena Williams is back on the court. That's right. Not just her sister Venus, but Serena is back as well. Remember, she was dancing in the Super Bowl a couple of years ago. Probably her kids are now grown up, or a little bit more grown up. She can get back on the court. She's won, by the way, 23 different times in terms of majors, making her comeback to tennis. She's going to play doubles next week at the HSBC Championship, which is an event in London. She last played competitive tennis, get this, folks, September 2nd, 2022 at the U.S. Open in New York. Yes, it has been that long for her, but I guess if she was that good when she won championships, even if she's not as good now, probably I would say will do very well. There are going to be players that are better than her, and I don't see her winning a championship, but congrats to Serena Williams, as now a mom, back on the court again. Meanwhile, the Chicago White Sox are bringing it back to like the 2000s. How about this? On Saturday, July 11th, great idea. The White Sox are hosting an alumni home run derby. It will be players who played for the White Sox, which made me forget that Jose Canseco actually did play for the Chicago White Sox. I forgot that. Was it just 1 year? I didn't even look it up. Also, Gordon Beckham is going to be in it. Leury Garcia, Daniel Palka, Scott Besednik, and Alexi Ramirez. Those are some of the participants that are involved in this, and I gotta say that I think people will be interested to see if Jose Canseco wins this home run derby. I definitely do. Anytime he's involved in anything, I think people pay attention, and Canseco headlining this group that's participating. In fact, Canseco was supposed to do an event here in South Florida years ago, never ended up doing it. By the way, he may not even show up for this event. It could be his brother that takes his place, and they don't even tell you. They just say that it's Jose, and it's not, and it's his brother Ozzy. Crazy guy, this Jose Canseco. All right, finally, one of the great games all time on Nintendo. Do you remember this one? You have to be a kid of the 90s at the very least. I was one of the 80s, but this was a 90s game. Backyard Baseball. Do you remember the hero of Backyard Baseball? He was in attendance at the game yesterday between Milwaukee and San Francisco. Pablo Sanchez. Remember him? He was the best player in that game. 16-2 was the final yesterday with Pablo in attendance. The Brewers end up putting up a 16 spot. You could do that in this video game. Here's Bryce Terang talking about if they're going to do this well with Pablo in the game, let's bring him back again.
Any commentary in the dugout as Pablo's sitting there and you guys get 7 runs?
I mean, if we got to bring him back, let's bring him back. I don't know. I didn't hear any talks about it, but that's what it takes. We'll bring him back.
Would y'all do? I mean, it was right behind the on deck circle. Would y'all see him as soon as?
I only saw his head. That's about it. I just saw the head sitting right there. But, yeah, I mean, you couldn't not see it. It was just massive. But yeah, it was fun.
Bryce, was there an at-bat that stood out to you tonight?
I like when characters show up to a game and immediately all the players think that this is the reason why they start to win. If I'm not mistaken, wasn't there a similar character last year? Wasn't it the Grimace? That the Mets thought that they were going to win all of their games, right? And that had something to do with it. You don't hear about the Grimace anymore. Where did he go? Mets losing every game this season. I guess it doesn't matter anymore. Maybe they need him back. Anyway, that'll do it for our show today. Thanks again to our great guests, including Dennis Bernstein. Thanks to Dennis for making the time. I know he's at the Cup Finals today, so thanks for him coming on. Dexter Henry, Kyle Bond, and Dustin Gawker. Those were our guests here on the show today. Tomorrow's show will preview the NBA Finals, so make sure you join us here on NewsWire on SportsGrid. In addition, we'll recap Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Finals as well. Don't forget to download the SportsGrid app. Just take out your phone, scan this QR code, which is on your screen. It can tell you more about all of our programming moving forward here on SportsGrid. That'll do it for this edition of NewsWire. Thanks again to Tommy, and thanks again to Frank on the graphics. And for my producer, Chris, I'm Craig Mish. Enjoy the rest of your Tuesday, everyone. We'll see you back Wednesday for our next edition of NewsWire. Have a great day.
Talk has been about sports betting handle being down or flat, right, because of the threat of prediction markets and the growth of them. But we've seen Kalshi actually kind of plateau for the first time in recent memory. Looking at a graphic right now, we've had the spike for the Super Bowl, and then this is usually when things die down. Yes, there's March Madness, but usually sports betting handle kind of goes down over the course of spring and summer until we get back to football season.
NewsWire, only on SportsGrid.
For Abdul Carter. Hey, son, you want to be a leader? Show up to meetings on time. Don't be late to practice. This guy's sitting there trying to tell me that he's got a problem with Jackson Dart going to a Trump rally when he can't even show up to a meeting on time and he can't show up to practice and he's late? Dude.
Outspoken with Dan Cilio, only on SportsGrid.
This is all about headlines, Donnie. If we hear, if that noise gets louder as we get closer, then 45 cents is going to be 65 cents, and that's the repricing we're talking about. I don't need Utah to get them. I need people to think Utah is going to go up and get them, Donnie, and that's how you make money.
Prediction Markets Edge, only on SportsGrid.
Now we have to endure months of manufactured rumors about will he or won't he retire LeBron James. They are probably, Donnie, working on the Decision 2.0 for Amazon Prime as we speak. Is Jim Gray still around? But here is the beauty of the predictive markets. They make insufferable stories about insufferable people highly profitable.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.